Hey guys, I've been wanting to do a reaction video to Abby's mom. I believe her name's Christine. And now for the life of me, I can't find any of the videos where she's specifically talking about high functioning autism and late diagnosed autism. I don't know if she just talks about high functioning autism. But I remember seeing other people respond to that, and I remember seeing, her talk about it. So I began my research. So the first video that I watched was actually on her channel. It's like a 2 minute clip, and it's titled Abby's Mom Christine, Love on the Spectrum Thoughts. And she goes on to say how, whenever they were interviewed, she wasn't sure about it. So she kind of researched it, and then she saw, noticed that the kind of autism that they were showing was people that had, more expressive language. And she goes on to say, but that's not the kind of autism that we have. And then she like corrects herself and she's like, that Abby has, that I observe through her. Now I'm going to insert the clips here, as well as I've like clipped them and created a link. So I will link those in the description box as well. So if you want to go and watch the little clips that I did.
Individuals were at a much higher functioning level within their autism. They had expressive language perfectly or very easy to understand, drove cars, had jobs, and that is not the kind of autism that we have. Abby has, that I observe. And so I was nervous to.
Now, when I see her say this, it was like, oh, that's exactly my point is, because I couldn't figure out why she was triggering me so much. It absolutely drives me insane and it makes me rage and it just pisses me off when she talks about kind of like, and again, I could be wrong. I don't want to quote her because I haven't found the video yet, but I'm in the middle of watching a Jubilee one where I believe is where she says it. So I'm going to continue. But I found so many pieces that kind of made me realize she's hurting. She's hurting. She's operating from a wounded place. And a lot of the things that she says is actually so not what she's known for and bashed for by saying, they're taking away from the resources or things like that. So that's further proof where the language and vocabulary gap that we have in this world is the problem. And with that being said, that proves my point. It's kind of how I've been feeling is that if you are able to communicate better and if you are able to verbalize that, just as there are people who don't have verbal communication skills, even though they have other ways of communicating, or they might not have any ways of communicating because nonverbal is so. Anyway, that's a whole nother thing. But, and again, it's like language. Some people get offended by the language and some people don't, but we need the language to communicate it. And as an autistic person, that's a big part of the problem is because you never understand where a person's level of understanding and communication, you don't know what vocabulary they have access to. So it's very difficult to translate that when everybody is operating off of, I call them different levels of consciousness, but whatever. I like how Brittany Simon puts it. She calls them bubbles, like how anyway. But that is my point is where you are able to communicate a little bit better than whatever your child is at, like you just said, this isn't our autism, it's Abby's autism that you are observing. So you have no idea that inner struggle. which later on in a video of Jubilee where Abby is there, she says something so brilliantly. She says she just knew she always wanted to be an adult because then she knows she'd have the language to be able to communicate, because she always wanted to join in conversation. She just didn't know how to interject herself. She didn't know how to jump in and to get there.
Always wanted to be an adult because I knew I'd have more language. It'll be easy for me to communicate, and life in general would have been easier.
And that's how I felt my entire life, is like, I have so much and I just don't know how to deliver it like everybody else. But because it was never identified in me, I thought that there was something wrong with me. I thought that there was, okay, I'm just not able, like I missed something. Like, I don't know if my parents didn't teach me this or the schools didn't teach me, but somewheres I didn't get that level of communicating, which I have a college degree. Uh, I have post grad classes, like, so I'm not an ignorant or uneducated person. I am an educated person, and I am articulate, and I'm able to communicate in certain ways where it looks normal to the world, but also, so yeah, I just ask anybody watching this that might share that same opinion as Christine verbalizes, look at it as we just have an extra layer of ability to deliver things. So that way there is more understanding. I don't know if that makes sense. So don't look at us as like we're going to water down the system and we're going to hurt you in any kind of way and take away services, because I'm fighting for my 12-year-old right now, because he's just like me and I was told I was normal my entire life. And now that I've recognized in trying to advocate for my son, which is what you did for Abby, 15 years of speech therapy, 20 years of occupational therapy, or vice
versa.
So you think it's okay to use the word disability because it helps people understand how hard you've worked to be in the conversation.
Yes, it does. And I'm even in the therapy right now.
That's true. And I would agree with Abby on that. I would say that because this autism word and spectrum now has successful people and writers who are neurodifferent, and people who have had 20 years of speech therapy.
And I'm one of them.
And you are, and rock star over here, but it's confusing. So I like the word disability because.
So every time I've done something that wasn't socially accepted or socially understood, because there was nothing wrong with me, I did have to find other ways. I couldn't shake my leg, or I couldn't bounce, or I couldn't do anything. I had to slow down how I was talking because I was too fast. I was too, those were how I stemmed. And I didn't know at the time, but so that's why I wasn't able to fit in a conversation. That's why I wasn't able to understand my own self. So instead, I tried to fix it to fit into a world that told me that that's how I was because the doctor said so. So listening to you speak right there, I know that people misunderstand you, and I know that if you have said things like that, that I think maybe you were just angry, or, like I said, acting out of a wounded place, a hurt spot. Like, I look at you and the other moms. Like, I watch the podcast with Connor's mom, and like, I'm their age, and I'm not, like, I'm more like Connor. Like, I want to hang out with Connor. I don't want to like, I'm not like y'all. And I'm okay now that I know I don't have to be like y'all. So just please, please take that into consideration. Just think about it. Just humor me and think about it.
It's confusing. So I like the word disability because when we're in public and Abby has a stim or arms are flailing,
Yeah, and some people on the spectrum tend to rock back and forth and flop their hands, and
that's a stim.
Oh, why you gotta
that's
call
not
me
the
that
stem
out? I
I'm
was
talking
doing that just now. No, literally, I've been holding my hands like this.
that's-
just trying to-
Yeah, I do
that's
this
a
too.
good thing, though.
I
That's-
even do this, or but I don't rock back and forth.
Right, but that's not your stim, but other people do like that. So, but
not
whatever
mine.
that thing is, I just feel like if you understand that autism can be different, can be a disability, because I don't have to stem, I can stem. This is a stem too.
And
But
everybody
it's not
stems.
imperative for me to do that to be in this conversation right now.
So imagine being the adult that never had a label, that never had a diagnosis or the word autism, which you said is confusing. But because I advocated, like you advocated for Abby, and look what she's a rock star. Like you're so proud of her. You know, I want to be that mom for my baby. And in order for me to do that, I had to have the language and the understanding of my own self. And that word autism gave me that understanding, and it gave me the roadmap that I needed. And actually, I look at it as kind of like a blessing, or like I have the upper hand, because I can actually understand how his brain thinks. And had I not observed that, like, oh my gosh, like I was doing to my son what my parents did to me. Brandy, look at me when I'm speaking to you. Look at me. Look at me when I'm talking to you. So my entire life I've had this death stare. Like I I intimidate people with my eye contact. I just thought I had really fucking awesome eye contact. I'm an intense and intimate person because I can hold eye contact. No, it was because I slipped through the cracks because I didn't fit the typical um, presentation. I'm 43 years old. Even with a college degree, I still can't hold down a job. And now that I have the term, the word, the label, don't take that away from me. Don't take that away from me. My entire life, I've had to journal and write everything down and try to, okay, this is what you did in this situation, and this is where it flopped and it went wrong. So let me try to learn how maybe next time I can do things differently, so that way my communication or my way of doing it is going to be a little bit better. That's all that I'm asking.